All right, so multiplying and dividing rational decimals. Don't forget that you have Builders 23 and 25 due Friday. You have a quiz next Wednesday, and Imagine Math is due October 28th. So let's go ahead and knock out our multiplying decimals first. So when you're multiplying decimals, don't forget at the end that you are counting the amount of digits behind the decimal of both factors. So that's very important. When you're finished, you're going to need to make sure you do that. And you're going to move the decimal to the left based on how many that you counted. So let's go ahead and look at the first one here. 46 and 2/10 times 12 hundredths. So you're going to use your multiplication rules. So we're going to look at the ones place. We have 4 ones. Now we're going to move to the tens. I'm sorry, the tens place. Now we're going to look at the ones place. So we have 12 ones. We're going to regroup one of those. And then 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1. Now we're going to move to the tens place where that 1 is. We're going to add that 0 there. So we can change colors. So we got our place value right there. And then it's going to be 1 times 2, which is 2. 1 times 6, which is 6. 1 times 4 is 4. Then we're going to add these up. Make sure you line them up correctly. 9 plus 6 is 15. We're going to add a 1 there, and then we have 5. All right, now this is the new part. So the new part is you're going to count how many digits are behind the decimal point. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3. And then starting from the right in our answer, we're going to move 3 spaces to the left. So we have 3 here. And we're going to have 3 here as well. And then that's where we're going to put our decimal point. So our final answer is going to be 5 and 544 thousandths. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at the next question. We have 3 and 45 hundredths times 5 and 6 tenths. Same thing, we're just going to multiply it out. 5 times 6 is 30. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 3 is 27. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 2 is 20. Put our place value holder. And then we have 5 times 5, which is 25. 5 times 4, which is 20, plus 2 is 22. And then 5 times 3, which is 15, plus 2, which is 17. And don't forget, if I'm ever going too fast, the great thing about doing this is that you can pause it and rewind or redo what we went over. So now I add all this up. 2 plus 0 plus 1 is 3. 7 plus 2 is 9. All right, now the new part, we count how many places there are after the decimal point. Let's use green. So we have 3 spots, and you include both of those numbers, so it's not just one of them, it's both of them. So we have 3 digits, so starting from the right, I'm going to count 3 spots, and then I'm going to put my decimal point. So my final answer is going to be 19 and 32 hundredths. All right, so that's multiplying decimals. Let's go ahead and look at dividing decimals. So obviously the first part is to set up your division problem. If the divisor has a decimal, you must move the decimal to the right to make it a whole number divisor. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. Moving the decimal is the same as multiplying by a power of 10. Multiplying by a power of 10. Whatever you do for the divisor, you must do for the dividend. Okay, so it balances each other out. So let's go ahead and set it up. Remember, the top number here is like the top of the fraction. It kind of falls through the roof. So that one goes inside. So here's 7.848. And this one goes on the outside. So what's new for you guys is that you are going to move the decimal point in the divisor. So remember, this is your divisor right here. This is your divisor. And so you're going to look at that, which is the one on the left here, 1.2. And you're going to move that one. So we're going to move it to the right 1. But remember, whatever you do for the divisor, you must do for the dividend. So since I moved it to the right one, I'm going to move this one to the right one. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it so it's a little easier for you to see what's going on. Let's do it underneath here. So we have, now it's, instead of 1.2, it's going to be 12. And instead of 7.848, it's going to be 78 and 48 hundredths. Don't forget, after you have done that, go ahead and put your decimal point up here so you don't forget that. And also, don't forget, you need to have a number in each place value column here. So we're going to go ahead and do our division. How many times is 12 going to 7? 0 times. It's important to put that there so you don't lose track. It's more of an organizational thing. 12. There are 6 groups of 12 that go into 78. 6 times 12 is 72. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to subtract those. We have 6 left over. And we're going to bring down the 4. 12 goes into 64 5 times, which is 5 times 12, which is 60. We have 4 remaining there. We're going to bring the 8 down. Extend the page so we have enough room. And then 12 goes into 48 4 times. And we have nothing remaining and nothing to bring down. So that's our final answer. So our final answer is 6 and 54 hundredths. Make sure you box your answer so it's easy to see. And there you have it, 6 and 54 hundredths. Let's try another one. I'll go ahead and write it to the left. I'm going to show it right here and then I'll rewrite it so it's easier to see. So remember, our divisor goes on the outside, so it's going to be 0.03 on the outside. 0 and 753 thousandths there. Once again, you're looking at the divisor, and we're going to move the decimal point in the divisor. So we're moving it twice. So we need to do the same thing in the dividend. So we're going to move it to the right twice. If you don't need to rewrite it, that's fine. You can go ahead and just move the decimal up and work from there. I'm going to rewrite it for note's sake, but it's fine if you don't. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite this just so it's easier to see what's going on. Instead of 3 hundredths, we just have 3 now. And instead of 753 thousandths, we now have 75 and 3 tenths. And I'm going to go ahead and write my decimal point at the top so I don't lose track. 3 goes into 7 2 times. I'm going to go ahead and subtract that. We're going to bring down the 5. 3 goes into 15 5 times. Subtract our 15. Move 0. We're going to go ahead and bring down the 3. And 3 goes into 3 1 time. So fairly simple one there. And our final answer is 25 and 1 tenth. So to review, just make sure that you remove the decimal point from the divisor so that you have a whole number, and it'll make it a lot easier for you. So now let's go ahead and practice some problems here. I'm just going to walk through these fairly quickly. Remember, pause it or rewind if you need any help. So we have 2 and 2 tenths times 2 and 67 hundredths. So let's go ahead and multiply these out. I'm going to do the bigger or the more digits on the top just so it's easier. I'm just going to multiply it like there's no decimal points first. And then after that, we'll see where to put the decimal point in the final answer. So I'm just going to walk through this real quick. 7 times 2 is 14. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. I'm going to put my place value holder. Now we're in the 10th place. 1's place, it looks like. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 6 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. And we have our final there after we add them up. Now we count how many digits are after the decimal point. And in this case, we have 3. So I'm starting from the right, and my final answer, I'm going to move 3 places and then put my decimal point. So my final answer is 5 and 864 thousandths. All right. Let's look at the next one. 8 tenths divided by 1 and 12 hundredths. 8 tenths divided by 1 and 12 hundredths. So let's go ahead and set it up. We have 8 tenths on the inside. We have our divisor on the outside. So it looks kind of tough, just looking at it like this. Now we're going to go ahead and set it up. We're going to move the decimal point in the divisor twice. So we need to move this one twice. And obviously there's nothing there. There's like a space there, so we're going to add a 0 there. And we're going to put our decimal point right there. So let's go ahead and rewrite it so it's easier to see. So instead of 1 and 12 hundredths, we have 112. Instead of 8 tenths, we now have 8. I'm going to add my decimal point. And then I'm going to add some zeros so that I can answer this. 112 doesn't go into 80, so I need to add some zeros. After the decimal point, as long as you have a decimal point, you can add as many zeros as you want at the end. So in this case, I need at least 1. So obviously 112 doesn't go into 80, so I'm going to put my zeros there. Now I need to guess and check to see how many times 112 goes into 800. I will guess 7. So let's try 7. I'm going to have to do it a little lower here so I don't get in my way here. So let's see if we're right. 7 plus 1, so 8. 784, I think that's going to be pretty close. So 7 times. We're going to subtract 784. That gives me 16. 6, 1. All right, and then we're going to add another 0 at the end here. Bring that down. 112 goes into 161 times. That's kind of mental math, so let's go ahead and do that. So 1 time, so minus 112. We have to subtract that. Looks like we're going to run out of some room here. 160, so we need to borrow. So we have 848. Obviously it doesn't go into 112, so we're going to add another 0. Bring that down, run out of space. 480, let's guess and check. So 112. Let's try 4. So 112 times 4. Let's do it down here where I have some space. 112 times 4. So 48. I'm sorry, 8. I don't know why I did 48. Remove that 4. Let's rewrite this. 112 times 4. So 448. And that gives us 32. And once you get here, you can pretty much call it quits because we have gotten pretty far. I think that's probably good enough. So we're going to stop at the thousandths place. You don't need to go any farther than that. It could probably go on, but we're going to run out of room anyways. So 714 thousandths is going to be our answer. So that was a hard one. So it's good to practice some of those hard ones so you can get better. So let's look at number 3. 24 and 6 tenths times 32 hundredths. So 24 and 6 tenths times 32 hundredths. Let's go ahead and start in the hundredths place. So 6 times 2 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 2 times 2 is 4. Put our place value holder. Now we'll work in the tenths place. So 3 tenths times 6 tenths, 18 tenths. So 18. 12 plus 1 is 13. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. Add them up. And now we finally count how many places are after the decimal point. In this case, there are 3. So 3 after the decimal point. So we need 3 starting from the right. And there you have it. So 7 and 772 thousandths. 7 and 772 thousandths. Let's go ahead and look at number 4. 34 and 5/10 divided by 25 hundredths. Remember, the one on the left goes on the inside. 34 and 5/10 divided by 25 hundredths. Now we need to move the decimal point. 1, 2. 1, 2. And our decimal point will go there. I'm going to rewrite it so it's easier for you guys to see. So instead of 25 hundredths, we now have 25. Instead of 34 and 5/10, we now have 3,450. So we don't even need to put a decimal point, but we may eventually if we have a remainder, so let's go ahead and work it out. 25 does not go in at 3. It does go into 34 one time. So we subtract our 25. 34 minus 25 is 9. And bring down the 5. There are 3/4 in a dollar. 95, so 3. And that would be 75. 95 minus 75 is 20. We bring down the 0. 25, there are 4/4 in a dollar. So 8/4 in $2, so this would be 8. 8 times 25 is 200, and there you have it. Pretty easy. 138 is our final answer. Once you move that decimal point, it gets a lot easier. So our final answer is 138. Obviously, you can check your work and go backwards to see if you're correct. We'll do it for this one just to show you. 138, I'll do times 25 hundredths just because it's a little quicker. So 0.25 for 40, 15 plus 4 is 19, 6, 16, 6, 7, 2, 3. Oh, that's, all right, now we add them up. 0, 5, 1, 13 plus 1 is 4, and 34, 25. All right, good. We have 2 places. So we checked it, it's good. All right, now let's go ahead and multiply. Same thing, but now we have a negative. Remember, a positive times a negative, the final answer is going to be a negative. Nothing really that new here, except for the negative. I'll just add that in at the end. All right, I'll do it right now, it's nothing good. All right, so 4 times 5 is 20. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Put our place value holder. 2 times 4 is 8. So now we're in the 10th place. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. Add them up. 8 plus 7 is 15. 7, 8, 5. Count our place value spots. We have 4 in this problem. So 4 of them. So we're going to need 4 in our answer. So there you have it. Don't forget your negative because it's negative times a positive. So our final answer is negative 585 thousandths. All right, 6 and 78 hundredths divided by 2/10, negative 2/10. So our answer is going to be negative because we have a positive divided by a negative. Remember, a positive divided by a negative is a negative answer. Remember, the first number, when you're doing blank times blank, goes inside. So 6 and 78 hundredths divided by negative 0.2. Once again, the divisor, we got to move the decimal point, so I'm going to move it once to give it a whole number. I'm going to rewrite it so it's easier to see. So I have negative 2. Instead of 6 and 78 hundredths, I now have 67 and 8/10. I'm going to put my decimal point up there so I don't lose track of that. All right, so 2 goes into 6 3 times. I'm gonna worry about the negative at the end so that I don't get too confused here. Bring down to 7. 2 goes into 7 3 times. Oops, 2 times. Yeah, 3 times. 6. We got 1. Bring down to 8. 2 goes into 18 9 times. And we have no remainder. So we are done. Don't forget your answer is going to be negative. So it'll be negative 33 and 9/10. Negative 33 and 9/10. All right, we got 2 word problems and then we're done. So Ashley is putting a fence around her garden. Her garden measures 2 5/10 yards by 4,500 yards. What is the area of her garden? So measures 2.5 yards by 45/10 yards. That's your length times width. So if I were to draw the garden, one side is 2.5 yards, and the other side is 4,500 yards. Remember, area is equal to length times width. So in this case, we're just going to multiply those 2 numbers, and we have our area. So 2.5, let's do it right here. 2.5 times 0.45. 5 times 5 is 25. 10 plus 2. Put our place value holder. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. We're going to add them up. Our decimal points, don't forget about those. So we have 3 places there. So we need 3 in our answer. And there you have it. 1 and 125,000 yards squared, because it's area. Remember, area is square units. Area is square units. All right, last one. Justin is separating the apples he picked at the orchard. Most likely we're going to be dividing here. If he picked 3 7/75 pounds of apples and one basket only holds 2,500 pounds, how many baskets will he need to hold the apples? So we're going to be splitting up these apples into baskets, so we're going to be dividing. Our dividend is going to be 3 7/75. That's what we're dividing up. And each basket's going to hold 2,500 pounds. So that's our divisor. Now, some of you guys probably did this in your head. 4 quarters in $1. $3 is $12, or 12. And then 75 cents more, so that'd be 15. So our answer should be 15. But let's see how we do it. Moving the decimals, it should be really quick because we're dealing with quarters. I'm going to rewrite it so you can see it better. So 25. We have 375. I don't need to put a decimal point because it's at the very end. All right, there are 0 quarters in 3, or 25. 25 goes in 37 one time. 37 minus 25 is 12. Bring down to 5. That goes into it 5 times. Subtract 125, and we have our final answer. So we have 15 baskets. And that is our final answer. Don't forget, if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to your teacher. You can always rewind this and go through it a little slower. And we will continue learning tomorrow. Y'all have a great day. Tell me